All right. So new last name, by the way, I just noticed that.
Yes.
Bonner,
yes.
is that correct?
Bonner is correct.
Kelly Bonner, congrats. How was the wedding?
At our 2-month mark, the wedding was incredible. The only bad thing was literally like 2-3 days afterwards, everyone starts texting in, I'm so sick, I have COVID. I think like 80 of the 150 people got COVID.
Oh, from the wedding?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
geez.
Our
Yeah.
photographer, like everyone that was there got sick. But
Yeah,
it was worth it. It was for
Oh,
sure worth it.
welcome to the modern times. Well, as long as nobody got like really injured or
No,
passed
no.
away, then
Oh,
that's okay.
we did have one girl that dislocated her knee. I mean, it was like but just dancing too hard. So it's not like she wasn't upset.
Sounds like quite the wedding.
It was great. It was a good time.
Well, good. Congrats.
Thanks.
I'm sure that's an exciting time. I went through that last year, so I
Yeah.
know how fun that is.
It is
All right.
exciting.
Well, let's jump in. I know you got a hurricane to prepare for.
I know.
So Kelly Bonner, you are title is business development manager. Is that correct?
Yeah, that, and then we also use client advisor.
Client advisor. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the client facing role
Yes.
you use. I love it.
Mhm.
So I know a lot about your company, and before I lead you too much, I like this question because I know this is a unique role. I'm sure this is the first time you knew about this role.
Mhm.
How do you describe what you do to family and friends?
So that's a really great question. And sometimes I get overwhelmed trying to explain it, kind of not really dumbing it down, but making sure they understand what I do on a day-to-day basis, because oh, you're a property manager, like you go out, you talk to the tenants, but that's not what I do at all. So I speak with new investors, homeowners, and accidental landlords that have a property, whether it's a single family, a duplex, a quad, and they want to determine how to get it rent ready, find out what they could get for rent each month, and then explain to them how our property management company can place a quality tenant and continue to really increase the value of their asset over time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And like broad strokes, the prospects you deal with, the people that you're speaking with, what percentage are first time landlords and experienced investors?
That's a really good question. I think it kind of changes as the year has gone on. So I would say like first half of the year were about 80% of people I feel like that called in were true investors purchasing properties here in the Tampa Bay area, Polk County, St. Pete, Sarasota, that wanted to start to build a portfolio or create generational wealth for their families. And then now that the market has kind of shifted, we've seen, I would probably say about 60% of people that are calling in are your accidental landlord. They're not a true investor, but they have a property they just can't sell, or they're getting a divorce, or there's some type of situation that they need to get out of their home, and they want to be able to make money off of it because they can't sell it right now.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you went from the minority of your prospects being kind of accidental first time, now over half.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. I had a big discussion about end of Q2 with just my director about that as well, because there's definitely been a shift.
We may come back to that later. I may want to talk to you how that's affected your role, but just to get some housekeeping out of the way, giving context, describe, the markets that you guys serve, where the location is, kind of what the properties are like, and how many units you manage. Kind of give us some background for somebody like reading this or watching this from like Albuquerque or San Diego. Give us like a heads up on the size of the company, the type of market, and the type of homes you guys are managing. Okay,
so we cover Central Florida, for anyone that is familiar with Florida, and that's about 5 counties that we cover total. And I do believe we have leased out 500, just about 500 properties at the moment. And I can tell you, I think we have almost 40 that are active on the market right now. So the market it's booming. We're very busy. But all of our counties are different. So, and we have a couple like interstate counties. So that's Polk County. And then we have Pinellas, Hillsborough, where you see, you're on the coast.
Maybe share some of the cities, because somebody from outside of Florida may not be as familiar with that.
Okay.
So what are the cities that we might recognize?
Yeah, so Tampa, everyone I'm sure is familiar with Tampa Bay. We have a majority of our properties that we lease out in Tampa Bay. And that ranges from anything, single family, quads, duplexes, to, I believe our largest is an 18 unit apartment complex that we have. So we have a couple 18, 12, like 8 unit complexes that we cover as well. And then we're in the St. Petersburg area. Some are downtown, some are on the coast. So we do have some longer term vacation properties that we manage, all the way down to Bradenton, Sarasota, if anyone is familiar with that name. And then all the way back into Lakeland, which at one point was the #1 growing city across the nation. So we have kind of been letting our investors know that's a great area to start to purchase in, finding some smaller multifamily homes, just because you see Orlando pushing down, Tampa's pushing up. So everything is kind of smashing into that location.
And Lakeland is the Publix headquarters, right? So there's some large employer. It's a pretty small town with some large employers, which makes it a great rental demographic, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. The I-4 corridor that connects Tampa to Orlando, it's just warehouse after warehouse being built. So certainly a good place to be.
And I'm sure that helps you advise the kind of rentals your investors should be buying, right? Knowing
it does, absolutely.
who needs to move into that area, and you have those conversations a lot.
Yeah, we do. And we have, so our company, luckily, we have really great systems in place, and we have specific advisors for each kind of portion of property management, purchasing an investment home. So we have an agent who specifies working with investors and finding the right location for what they're looking for, which really helps me. It helps my job be able to, okay, he's honed in on this location. How can I help him get the most money? So that's nice.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you brought that up. One, I love that you have a support person and team for that, so you don't have to worry about that. And two, sounds like you guys are very equipped and used to dealing with investors who don't have a property yet, or don't have a property in your area, and are looking to acquire a property that you will then just manage. And I think that's interesting, because I think some people just assume that I only want to talk to somebody who's already got the property, but you're actually full service, like soup to nuts, helping them find the property, evaluate it, and then manage it over time, correct?
Correct. I should have mentioned that at first. We are full service. We have brokerage. We buy, sell, lease, manage, maintain, and reposition homes. So we have partners in place too with our maintenance network that can help an investor flip a property if that's what needs to happen too. So definitely full service, which really makes it fun. It makes every day fun.
Great. Okay. So Rented Network, how long have you been there?
I am coming up on my year. December will be 1 year that I've been here. So still new. Thank you.
Still new, but I can see you're making some strides.
New, but I feel like I've been here forever.
I know that I was a part of you coming on board, and I feel like that was forever ago. That's why I'm like, that was only a year. That was less than a year ago.
Yep. Not even, 9 months.
Yeah. It's funny how 3 months seems like forever, and then a year sounds like nothing, and then 3 years sounds like goes by even faster. So are you the only person dealing with new investors? Are you the only person in your role, or are you a part of a team of people doing what you do?
I am the only person in my role that does what I do specifically.
Okay.
I do believe we're working on getting someone else, and we can get, we're working on short-term rolling out come January. So there will be some new roles, I think, that come into place, but yes, I am the only BDM.
Got it. Okay. And so right now, currently all long-term, right? So you're specifically focused on long-term today.
Yeah, we can do some midterm, like 6 month or longer, but right now we're focused on specifically 12-month leases. Yeah.
Annual rentals. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes sense. So we'll kind of leave out the potential for short-term for later, although it'll be in the video, but we'll focus on currently today. It's annual, which is great. That gives you good focus on one thing. Okay. And what did you do before this?
So I was in home health sales, and I also had my real estate license. I think I've held that for about 6 years now. So right out of college, that was the first thing I did, was get my real estate license. I knew I wanted to use that. I wasn't sure how or when. I started out in Keller Williams for a brief, like 6 month period, cold calling, and
Full-time real estate agent?
Full time.
Okay. Yeah.
My parent, but then eventually my parents said, okay, you're not bringing in any money. I was young. I was still like 21. Didn't know. I didn't know anyone. Yeah. I had no like sphere of influence. My friends weren't buying houses yet. So tough time. Then I got into home health sales. So I was full-time outside sales. I covered Tampa area as well. So I've born and raised here my whole life, which is it's nice. It's beneficial. But I covered Tampa, I covered Lakeland, Polk County as well. So I was out and about visiting. My door count each week was supposed to be 80 doors or more. So I was just in the car all day, going from one physician's office to the next, trying to get them to use our company.
And so that's really great. So you had a real estate background, but you had not really established yourself as a real estate agent to the level that you wanted. And it sounds like not to any level at all. And then you got into sales and you were building a local network. So that's one thing I remember when you were coming into the role, because I was there, is were already very comfortable with the neighborhoods and the people in the community. And you could go out and you could have intelligent conversations with people about Tampa Bay and Pinellas County and all these other things. So what do you think from your previous experience kind of made you successful in this role, or gave you a head start, if that makes sense?
Great question. Yeah, I really just think it was confidence, being able to go in, have a conversation, because every single time, the first contact, most likely it's not a sales call. So you're introducing yourself, you're letting them know who you work with, and just really trying to exude confidence in the product or the service that you provide. So I really think that is the experience that I've had, is just learning to be confident in what you're trying to explain to that person, and just building those relationships, letting them know like, hey, I'm here, you can trust me. Even if it's not for anything that has to do with work, but you're here for a resource for whoever it is that you're speaking to, whether it's a doctor, an investor, a title company, someone that works in the hospital, or the person at the desk. So you want to be a resource and really a trusted advisor for anyone that I came into contact with.
I think that's a great parallel, because so many people say, how do we bring in somebody who's not an investor, doesn't necessarily own any rental real estate yet? How do they have the confidence to speak to an experienced investor? How do they bond with them? How do they build the expertise? And it sounds like the parallel that I'm hearing is, you were not a doctor, but you were selling to doctors. You were advising doctors, right? And you were probably 2 decades their junior, and you're able to show up and say, I still know some things you don't know, and still add some value. So on that note, what are some of your go-to tools, or how do you bond and establish yourself as an expert with these investors who have been doing this for 20 years?
So I really think, Rent Scale has been huge. And just kind of being able to give me stories that have happened in the past, as well as the team that I work with. So my team has been the biggest asset. I can call anyone, any time of day, to kind of help me answer any questions. but they just have so much knowledge that they have been able to transplant to me. And then really just every day, everyone you talk to is different. So I'm continuing to learn. I get to go and research. I stay on the computer and bigger pockets or whatever, I'm constantly Googling, how can I help this way? How can I do that? So I think that's been the most beneficial part, is just having a team behind me that does have the experience. So I know how to handle any situation that's thrown at me. I know how to speak to the investors. Like, I didn't know what cap rates were. I didn't know, whenever an investor initially called, I was like, I can't talk to them. They're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. I have a real estate background slightly, but no idea about property management. So it's just been a learning experience, and being able to trust in the team behind me that, okay, this is what they've dealt with before. This is how we've, moved past it. And I really think that's been the biggest, like the key part of me being able to speak to those investors.
That's great to hear. Totally side question, you just inspired. I mean, I guess in the beginning, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident were you on your first call or two?
Like 0. I remember, and I think I might even been in with the company for about a month. There was one call where a gentleman called in and I completely froze. I didn't know what to say. And I think his name was Aaron. And I was like, Aaron, I'm so sorry. I can't get a train of thought right now. I said, can I please call you back in 10 minutes? He was like, yeah, that's totally fine. I had to get off the phone. I had to hang up and be like, what are you thinking? What's going on? You know what you're supposed to say? Like, so I mean, I had to go through those experiences where I'm like, I just completely blanked. Like, I know what I should say. And
yeah,
but you learn. I mean, I learned.
Yeah, it's easy to know. You and I practiced a lot. It's easy to know the things to
Yeah.
say. It's an entirely different thing to say it under pressure,
Right.
And
Right.
so amazing. And by the way, did you get the deal with Aaron?
No, he actually already had, I think he rented out the property himself, but
Okay.
he has been lead simple, and I still have a passive
Oh,
nurture set up to get him. So he already had a tenant in the house. He was just wanting to get, more
So
rent.
he's a future client.
He is a future client. I will get him.
Yes. You let me know when you do. That'll be
I
amazing.
will.
So on a scale of 1 to 10 today, how do you feel? I mean, you may or may not be a 10 yet, but I'm sure you're not a 0. How do you feel
No,
out there?
I'm very confident. I think I can talk to anyone. I mean, I've had the super easy client that calls in, hey, I need my house, I need it rented. I don't want to deal with anything. Like, send the agreement, I'll sign it right now. And then I've had the other people who, we're shopping around. We have 4 other managers to call. And I've had people, we're talking to the X, Y, and Z company. We'll call you after we have all these conversations. And then I've had, can you drop your management fee? Can you do this? So I've really just learned to be super confident and explain to them why what we do works, why we can't discount our prices. So I would say, I mean, I don't want to sound cocky, but I'm probably at least at a 9 when it comes to a
Good.
phone conversation. I don't win them all, and I don't expect to. And I think maybe that's also helpful. I
believe it. Any tips on confidence? I mean, a lot of people come into this industry and they definitely, it's kind of like you selling to the doctors. Like, they feel like they're talking to somebody who may know more than them, but they probably don't know more than them about property management. They may know more about real estate investing, but anyway, I don't want to lead you too much, but like, any tips on people getting into this business on how they can be more confident?
I would just say knowing what your company does on a day-to-day basis, and like how everyone around you works. So I know, like, if there's any question that an investor or a homeowner might have for me, I can go to anyone on my team if I don't know the answer and find that out for them. But I work with every property coordinator we have. I speak to the owner of the company. Some people might not have access to do that, but I've been blessed with an amazing company who we get together every month with our like real estate services team. And we really just have an incredible team that has been able to give me that confidence, and rent scale. I have learned so many stories from rent scale and being able to talk to other property managers from across the United States. You guys, Kristen, with Diego, whenever he was here too, just being able to get on and kind of ask those questions. Hey, I mean, we practice. What do we do when this situation happens? And sometimes I tell investors stories that didn't happen to me directly, but I know it happened in the past. So I can talk them through that. And I know and trust that our company can work them through it.
It's amazing to see how confident you are after 9 months. I mean, this is a complex service. I mean, I'm guessing you might, feel free to disagree, but I'm guessing this is a lot more complicated than selling the home health services, right?
Yeah. I mean, home health services, I had a slick of, okay, where this is wound care, go talk about this. Like, okay, this is, cardiovascular help, go talk to them. We had a kit, like explain to them the blood pressure cuff and how that works. So that was all, I mean, that was literally by the book. You had a paper you could show them. Whereas property management, every single person is different. They've dealt with complications in the past that's been different from one investor to one homeowner to the next. So it's fun. Like, I hated home health. It was so boring. I didn't like going in there. I just felt I was another number, kind of, oh, you're the second home health rep that's in here today. You're annoying. Whereas property management, not everyone, but most people that call in really do have a need for it. And to be able to explain to them how we've already helped so many people in the past is just really fun. So it's the first job I think I've ever had where I haven't woken up and been like, I don't want to go to work today. Like, I don't want to answer the phone. There are some calls from owners. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you again. But most of the time I'm like, oh, this is a new owner. Let's get them. Like, let's do it.
I love it. Well, that leads me, I'll jump ahead of my questions because I wanted to hear this. So kind of a 1A and 1B question. So, your role, you're the only one in your role. I'd like to know kind of your favorite part about your role is, but I'd also, on the back end, like to know what your favorite part about the company is, because I'm sensing that the same role in a different company without the same vibe may not be as exciting to you. You seem to be excited both about the role and the company. So, 1A is like, what are you most excited about your company? And 1B is like, 1A is the role, and 1B is what are you most excited about Rent a Network?
I think the most exciting thing about my role is winning, like having someone actually sign the agreement and saying, yes, like, we choose you, because like I mentioned before, sometimes it may be an immediate, like, oh, I'm signing the next day. And then I've had people that have literally took 9 months to like sign the agreement or get their property ready or make a decision. So I think that like the win, like the fight, okay, I've done so much work, like we've put in a lot of effort on phone calls, emails, going to the property. So whenever they finally say yes, I think that's my favorite part of the role, and working through the different problems. So hearing how each owner is different. I love networking. I like to speak to literally anyone. I talk to you on the side of the road, I think. So that's my favorite part. And then the company, it really is just the people that I work with. Everyone has our culture, and that's probably an overused word, like, oh, company culture, you want it to be awesome, but it truly is the best company I've ever worked with. And I know, like, Reese, I could call if I needed him to like come fix my tire on the side of the road, or like our property coordinators, we do like happy hours every quarter. And then like I just mentioned, our real estate services team, every month we meet on a Friday, we do lunch together. We just kind of see how the market's doing. We talk, like, we go over our market strategy for the next month. And then we just talk about our lives. Like, we know how everyone's kids are doing. We know what, you're doing on the weekend. What are your vacations? So it really is just an incredible company to work with. And I think that's definitely one of the reasons I like to wake up, and it's fun.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It was really specific. It's easy to say, oh, we got a good culture, but then you started to give some really good, examples of what that feels like to you and how you're experiencing that as a team member, building your career, coming in. I'm guessing, I've been around you, I've seen your skill set. I'm guessing you have a lot of options. And so it's good to hear from someone like you, kind of like what it's like and what keeps me here, how I'm enjoying this, and how it's not a grind and you're not afraid to go to work every day, or, you know, however you said it. But it's actually like, hey, I'm here and I'm excited to do this. And of course, winning. That's, I feel like, is in every salesperson's DNA. You know, my sales team tells me that all the time. It's like, they just love winning, you know? So I get that. All right. So thinking about, you know, I know your area fairly well. You know, South, West Florida, kind of, you know, Tampa, Central Florida, booming area, very dense, very populated, tons of property managers. I'm experiencing, I'm guessing you do that as well. Maybe you don't run into any competition, but I'm thinking you do.
We do.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, exactly. This is not, you know, you're not the only game in town. Why do you think people buy from you, and why do you think people buy from your company? Because I think both are important, and I want to separate those two. For sure. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, first and foremost, whenever there's, I mean, when you do an online search, we're one of the top 10 that come up. So we have great, you know, like search engine presence. We have a ton of lead volume from Google ads. But I think we're rated number 2 Google review wise. So we have over 1,000 Google reviews, 4.8 stars. So we're just under that 5-star rating. And that,
how many reviews was that?
Oh, just over 1,000. I think we have 1,080.
Wow, over 1,000. 4.8. That's definitely, and that's on Google.
Yep, on Google.
Amazing.
We have one other company that's they have about 50 more reviews than us, and they're our arch nemesis. But I mean, they're an incredible company too. So that's, I think, maybe one reason people will decide to buy from me, because they'll say, oh, like, I'm going to go interview this person. I'm like, that's great. They're an incredible company. I don't bash a property manager because I know the grind that some of them put in, but there are some companies who have 3 reviews, and it's like, okay, this isn't a good company. Like, I don't want you to like ruin your most valuable asset by giving it into the hands of a company that's going to just become, you know, a slumlord. So,
or doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. And we've had clients call in and they decide to go with another management company, and then a month later they call back, hey, my house is still on the market, you know, I think we want to switch over to you guys, and we win them over. We get it leased out in 2 weeks.
Funny how those guys don't even want to negotiate, right?
They don't.
The best client, I always say my best clients are the ones that said no, and then they come back later. So that's a great feeling.
It is. And that's happened. It's happened multiple times to me. And that's another reason why I love the job, because it's like, okay, I didn't win at first, but I knew you're going to come back. Like I told you you were. So I kind of am forgetting where we were going with that question, but that's
why they buy from the company. And then why do you think they buy from you? Because I mean, you are the test drive for the company. They're handing over significant asset or assets to you guys, and all they interface with is you. So the company's great. So what do you think you do that makes them trust you guys?
I think, well, that's kind of the biggest thing is I'm incredibly honest up front. I set expectations. I'll give them, I mean, I immediately send a rental analysis, and they may say, oh, well, I thought I could get, you know, $500 more than that. So, and I'm like, I am giving you the honest opinion based on the market. So I think that's why they will they'll purchase from us or decide to use our company, because of that reason. So I, from the start, give them my honest opinion. I let them know, hey, I'm not going to say anything that I don't trust from our company. I don't want to give you too much information either, because then you may take it and skew it a certain direction. So I'm just open and upfront from the beginning. And I think that's why. And I'm confident, which I already said that I know our company is great. Sometimes we drop the ball. Sometimes something happens that is out of our control. But when it does, I'll be the first to admit, like, hey, you know, that's on me. I'm sorry. Or, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. I missed your email. I missed your phone call. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons is why, because I'll always be open up front. That's how I am as a person with my family and friends. And that's just what I wanted to bring over to this role too.
Thanks for sharing that. Once somebody kind of comes on board, do you maintain a relationship with this person? Do you follow up? Because you just said, hey, we may not be perfect, but if something goes wrong, I'll be the first to jump in and do something. So what's your commitment and relationship with clients after they sign up?
So what we have, again, I know I mentioned this way early on, we have an incredible system. So I'm kind of the face who they talk to initially. Once the property is on the market, then they get introduced to their specific property coordinator. So our properties are split up between a couple property coordinators as well. So I'll let them know, okay, Tia is going to be your coordinator from now on. She has a team that works below her. If you have a question, reach out to Tia or Alex and they'll be able to help you out. If for some reason you don't hear from them, let me know. So then their coordinator sends them a bomb video introducing themselves, but they still will contact me because I'm the first person. So, hey, Kelly, how, it's been on the market for a week. What's going on? Do we need to drop the price? And I've started, and this has changed since I started as well. So I'll let clients know, okay, every Wednesday we go through our properties on the market. If we think that there needs to be a price reduction, then I'm usually the one reaching out. Sometimes it might be the property coordinator if I'm, on the road or if I'm taking phone calls or something. But most of the time it's me letting them know, okay, this is, we talked about this. If we need to drop the price, then we will. So I usually maintain that relationship and line of communication until the tenant is placed. So once the tenant moves in, I no longer really speak to that owner because I don't know what the lease, like how the lease was written. I don't necessarily know the tenant's name all the time, so that the property coordinator can communicate on that. And then I'm moving on to bring in, the next new property.
Excellent. And is there any conversation or communication around, hey, I'm ready for another property, or somebody wants to sell? If somebody wants to sell and it's a 2-bed, 2X in this kind of corridor, like call me, like, are you kind of brokering some of those deals?
So not necessarily me, but I do have owners like, hey, Kelly, I know everything worked out so great with my first property. I'm ready. I already have another one. I'm ready to bring that one on board. So I'll just send them another agreement and get out and do the photos, list it just like I would the initial one. But if they are wanting to sell their property, then we have our agent on the brokerage side who the property coordinator will send our agent that information. So they know, okay, I'm ready to sell it. And then they kind of decide which agent is going to put it up for sale.
All right, total side note. We should talk later in the year when it's super quiet in December. I'd like to show you some ways where you can be running some comps and sending them to investors that you like and being like, hey, this property looks just like yours. And just like, you could be catalyzing some of your investment community to, maybe buy that second, third, fifth, 17th property.
I definitely need to do that. Yeah.
All right. So that's my offer to you for all the generosity you're giving us. Like when things get a little quieter, we'll walk through that and I'll give you some tools on how to do that. And I think you'll do that really well. So
yeah, that'll be awesome. And then our brokerage side will appreciate that too.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Your job is just to get them interested and pass it off,
Exactly.
Totally. All right. So you're not allowed to say rent scale, which I appreciate, but is there a book, a skill, a conference, something that you've come across that is kind of that you think has made you more successful that you would want other BDMs in your role to look into?
That's a great question. And I do not read as much as I should or remember. Like I have listened to a few podcasts here and there. But I'm not a huge reader, and I could give you a ton of excuses to, oh, I have too much. I'm always on the phone, but like, oh, I'm working so hard every day. But no, I don't read that much and I want to do more. But it's just kind of been learn as you go and get advice from who you can and who you talk to that has been in a role like this before you. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I know I read a couple books. I've read a couple books from like millionaire real estate agents.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what is his name? Freddie Eklund, maybe is his
Don't know
name.
that
I
one.
don't know.
Don't know that one.
It's just a couple book, like they're literally like The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I think is
Yeah.
the title of the book. And it just goes on to tell the story about how they started, where they came from, and really just the grind and the confidence to be able to sell what you know. But that's kind of the only ones I can think of that I've read. And I know, not that I'm going to say rent scale, but you guys have mentioned some great books to listen to. And there is one, and now I can't think of it, that I did listen to a podcast that you guys told me about. I don't, if I had it written down in front of me, then I would know it, but I'll send you an email with the title.
It's okay. You know, what I'm observing about you specifically, Kelly, is you don't need all the answers. Like your recommendation probably shouldn't be go learn this. What I'm experiencing from you is your recommendation is just go do it. Like you're just an action person. I remember training you and I'm like, hey, here's some stuff. And it might take people 3 or 4 times to hear it. And you're just like, I'll do it tomorrow, and like, so one of the things to, that I'm taking away from our relationship is you don't need to know it all. You don't need to learn that. You just need to go do. And you're like a learner by doer. And I think that is not everybody, but I think that's a lot of people. And I think that's great advice.
I think it's my background. It's where I come from. I played sports my whole life. So there wasn't I could watch a video on YouTube of like how to swing properly for golf or softball. But unless I'm actually out on the golf course, or I played softball in college, you'd go to the field and you're constantly like doing it and practicing. You're making those mistakes, which I do all the time. But if I'm not doing it, then I'm not going to learn how to do it better. So I think that's kind of my athletic background definitely gives me that drive. Whereas I'm like, I used to read books, but then I just got to the point where I was like, okay, this is kind of boring. Like,
yeah,
I can hear it, but unless I'm living it out, then.
Well, that in itself is a really valuable tip, because I do think people get a little too consumed with like, what should I read? What should I do? But it's like, hey, just go get more reps. Just get out there, get more reps, get some feedback, pay attention. I'm guessing you're not just getting reps and ignoring the feedback. You're probably reflecting on the feedback you're getting, right? And that is your crucible. That's your feedback chamber that's making you better. Okay. If you may or may not have an answer to this, was there ever a deal where you just totally thought you bombed the sales call? Like this was the worst thing ever. Jeremy would be so disappointed in me, and then they bought anyway?
I'm pretty sure there's probably been a couple of them, and there's deals where I'm driving, there's bad service. I don't even know if they hear what I'm saying, or I feel like I'm cutting them off. And I know there's been a lot of times where I've just kind of went through all of my salesy questions and I didn't make anything personal. I didn't ask them, where they live. I just kind of, okay, this is what we have to offer. Like, do you want it? Yes or no? And after I hang up, I'm like, wow, I don't even remember the person's name. Like, so there's been that kind of those situations like, yeah, there's no way, they're not even going to like me. And then like 2 days later, they're like, okay, send me the agreement. I'm ready to work with you. So there's definitely been those situations. And I don't think those are me. I think that's just like, yeah, we read your reviews. You're a pretty good company. But then I know, okay, next phone call or next email I send them, try to be more personal so they can really buy into the company.
That's good. That's good reflection, good awareness. So once a quarter, once a month, once a year, how often do you think you just totally lost it and then they buy anyway?
Oh, I would say at least once a month.
Okay. That's the share that I want the group to hear. Because I think we all go through that. I've done that as a salesperson too. I'm like, there's no way that person's buying from me. I'm having the worst day ever. And next thing they know, they do. And on the flip side, Kelly, how many times you've been like, oh, I crushed that. They're totally buying, and then they ghost you and you're like, I can't get a hold of them anymore. Has that ever happened to you?
That's like 3 out of the 4 weeks a month. No. But no, it definitely has. I've gone to on sites where I'm like, oh, they for sure, like we talked about everything. They told me about their kids, like they're definitely, and then I haven't heard from them for a week, like, hey, how's it going? I thought you guys were ready to move on. Oh, we decided to go with another company, whether it's a management fee is cheaper or, it's something was the reason why they went to them. So it definitely happens as well. And I think those are the humbling experiences, but then I have to kind of look at it as, okay, you lost this one, now go get two more.
Like it. I lost one, let's go get two more.
Yeah.
That's why I really appreciate that share, because I think somebody coming into this, we can really be hard on ourselves, or we can really be overconfident at the same time. And so, this experience share is just so crucial to like grounding ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my last questions, Kelly, which is, this has been amazing. You got a friend, or I introduce you to a cousin of mine, and they're thinking about taking a property management sales role. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to research the company, research the company's reputation. Maybe even like get a friend or a family member, this might be terrible, but to call in and pretend like they have a property and they want to just get some more information about your company and how you guys work, and see kind of really just how they feel when they talk to them. And if they get a bad vibe, then just kind of take note of that and make sure they know like the proper questions to ask when they're talking with the person that they're going to be interviewing with. But I think, whenever you go into a room or you're being interviewed by someone, you can read that other person as well and just really see, even if they like what they're doing. Like sometimes I've been interviewed and I'm like, I don't even think this person likes their job. So just make sure you're researching the company, they have a good reputation. And I think that's kind of my biggest advice, is making sure you are going to like who you're working with and what you're doing as a property manager. And then again, that was made me think of it. Research what a property manager does. So some people just have this idea of what they do, and there's, multiple levels to property management. It's not just a sales role, or it's not just making sure a tenant is okay. There's so many levels. So make sure you're actually going to like what you're doing too.
That's great. Super sage in terms of the company and the people you'll be working with, right? Just, sensing how excited are they? What's their energy like? Are they satisfied? Are they not? Are they just going through the motions? Let's talk about the industry. Let's just assume the company is good. There's not a lot of people out there that know about the property management industry, specifically within residential property management, which, as we know, is very different than like multifamily, where you're in an office all day and you're like, not an office, but like you're downstairs.
Yeah, you're like a leasing office down. Yeah.
So what do you think about the industry? I'm sure you just completely stumbled across this. Like, are you bullish on this and like the opportunity? What would you say to somebody that says, I just want to go into property management sales?
Again, it would be another kind of research what you're doing. Go on to Facebook, Bigger Pockets is huge, and just research the word property management and really get an idea of everything that happens on a day-to-day basis. So like you mentioned, leasing in an apartment complex, you have just your leasing coordinator who is writing the lease. They're getting the documents that you need. And that's completely different from what I'm doing. It's completely different from what one of our showing agents does. So we have specific people that just show the properties, or they do a move-in of the property. So there's so many, there's so many rotating parts that you have to have knowledge of that truly I didn't. I had no idea when I started. So I looked up the company, I knew they were great. And then I was like, I did some research on property management. And then when I started, I was like, holy crap, there is so much going on the back end, the accounting of it, the legal side of it. There's so much that can go wrong. So just really knowing the industry as a whole, and not just what you've heard from someone else or what you did whenever you signed your apartment lease when you were, 21 years old. So yeah.
Great, yeah, great share. That's a good point. Some people may have had a bad client-facing experience from property management and just like kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater. And so that's a really good reminder that it's not all created equal. And you can even say, you hear the word property management, you Google that, you might start finding association property. Like we live in Florida, we know
Oh,
like
yeah.
association property
The
management.
community
There's so many.
manager.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
yeah.
So really knowing what you're getting into, slicing and dicing it in a detailed way, I think is important.
Mhm.
Kelly, it's amazing to watch your journey and to see you grow. I'm very proud of you. I just want to say that.
Thank you. I had
Every
a great
time
teacher.
remember after interviewing you, I told Reese, I was like, if you don't hire her, I am going to. That was literally what I told him. I don't know if he told you that, but that's literally,
He's always like, I think Jeremy is gonna have you like come over to rent scale and
yeah.
probably like teach some classes.
You know, I was like, if you don't hire her, I'm gonna
do
hire her
it.
because you just were really ready to go, and you were very
Yeah.
you know, you had all the green lights. You were just very curious, you were very interested, you're very sincere. And I'm sure that's a lot of what's made you successful. So
I
as we
think
wind up, is there anything else you want to share? Anything I didn't ask that you were like, hey, I mean, because this will be read by other owners who are thinking about hiring a BDM, or other owners who maybe have a BDM that's not working out, or maybe
Sure.
a BDM who's like, I just want to get better. You know, there's quite an audience here. So is there
Mhm.
anything that I didn't ask that you want to share from your journey?
I really just think even like as an owner interviewing a property management company, like make sure you're asking any question you can think of. No question is a dumb question. Make sure you're doing your research on that company. Don't just choose someone because they have, lower management fees. There may be hidden fees that come up, they only charge 50%, to start, but then they have move-in inspection fees and annual inspection fees, maintenance upcharges. Like, just make sure that you're doing your research on the property management company too, because owners not all owners think property management companies are great. They hear that too, and they're like, I don't want to work with a company, I can do it myself. So I just think, and for even as another BDM, like, know how to speak to your owners on your company and what you have to offer and why you would be beneficial for them to help keep their asset year over year and just give them something that they can have in the future.
Well said. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else to add to it. I think it's perfect.
All right.